Hello, friends. Hey, hey, hey. If you're here watching the replay, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you checking this out. My name is Svava Brooks. I am a trauma recovery coach, tongue twister sometimes, but I love to be here online on the World Wide Web to empower survivors of trauma, neglect, and abuse to heal and restore. And I do that by leading the readers of my book one day, one page at a time through the workbook, because healing and recovery is a daily loving kindness, I say. So if you are interested in learning more about the services that I provide to help survivors heal, please visit my website, svavabrooks.com, and my books are available on Amazon or Kindle. And also, just so you know, I will be chatting to two different screens right now. I have, hey, Wanda, I got YouTube going here, Periscope over here. So if it looks like I'm talking to making random comments, I'm not losing my mind. I'm actually responding to someone here. But if you want to join us anytime, please jump on over to YouTube and look for the channel, the name of the book, Releasing Your Authentic Self, and you will find us and you will find our chat. And also feel free to join us here live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But if you're here live, like my friend Wanda right now, hey Wanda, how are you doing today, my friend? If you're here, please say hello. Please let me know that you're here. Love to welcome you, celebrate you, get to know you, and support you in any way that we can. How are you doing today, my friend? I did hear from a couple of my friends today saying they weren't going to make it to the live chat today, and that's all right. That's all right, but here we are. And the other thing I wanted to add, if you have any questions about healing or recovery after trauma, I've been there and I am more than happy to answer any questions that you might have, or if I don't know the answer, see if I can refer you to some additional resources, but I'm here to answer any questions if I can. Really, my friend Wanda, struggling, but hanging in there. I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. Well, I'm glad you're here, Wanda. Thank you so much. So how can I support you today, Wanda? What's the struggle? I know we're going to dig in a little deep here in a minute. And thank you so much for sharing your journal entry in the group today. But let me know if I can support you. Hey, Ricky. Hey, friend. Good to see you. Hey, Woody. How are you doing, Ricky? How you been? I was just talking to one of my clients earlier today, saying it feels like this January has been a little intense, meaning that I'm just now kind of getting back to my self-care routine, my workout. They should just skip the holidays altogether, I think. What about you? It just too much ruckus, too much rocks our world when it comes to our schedule and our routine. I mean, I don't know about your body. My body likes, right, predictability and things just so. But I'm kidding around. But sometimes it's amazing how hard it can get back on track, isn't it? So, but there we go, right? I'm work in progress like everybody else. Thank goodness. I'm human. Wanda says, hit a rough time in therapy with inner child work. Excuse me, but that's to be expected. Yes, my friend. Hey, Angel. Yes, my friend. I do understand. That is hard heart work. As you know, that's what I like to call it. When we are reconnecting both with our bodies and we are reconnecting with our wounded parts, whether it is some big feelings and or it is those little kids, those inner children, right? That have been hanging on to some hurt, maybe for a very, very, very long time. So I'm proud of you, Wanda. I'm happy for you for the work that you're doing, because I can tell you few things have been as impactful on my healing and recovery as to becoming the parent that I needed. And that was a lot of intense work with my inner child. So I celebrate you, my friend. And I know your inner child, even though, right, it's hard, and they kind of act out. They throw tantrum like children that we see in our outside world, right? But they do appreciate the work, even though they may resist the love and the attention in the beginning. Isn't it interesting? Just like we struggle with intimacy as grown-ups in these big bodies after we've been hurt as kids, our inner children will also be very cautious when all of a sudden we show up, right, to try to make it better. It takes time, but you can do it. You can do it. Raki said, been good today, felt grief, but I let myself feel it and cry a bit. Good for you, Raki. Good for you. Good for you. It's so important when we have those feelings that we let ourselves feel them. That's the most real thing about humans. It's the most authentic part about us. And that's such a big part of releasing our authentic self, is to honor our feelings. So good for you, my friend. Good for you. Just right. Most of us have lots and lots of things to grieve and to cry about and to have our feelings. So we don't always have to understand. I know that's our mind wanting the story, wanting to understand what was happening or why. But good for you. And I'm glad you're here with us. So thank you for being here. Hey, Denise, how are you doing, friend? Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So glad you're here. And again, to my Periscope friends, I also am looking at YouTube going here. And so that's over there where I'm seeing some of the chat. And that's where my questions or what I'm commenting on is coming up on the YouTube chat. And so you may not see it over here. But if you have any comments or questions on trauma or recovery, I am all ears. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you doing? How's your week going? How is your week going? Day by day. There you go, Denise. Day by day. I'll grab some water. I have a scratchy throat today. Wow, Raki says, I managed to tell a family member about what happened, about the abuse that happened. That was a release. Whew. That is huge, Raki. That is huge, my friend. I celebrate you. I see you. I hear you. That it's so important that we find a way to, right, get it out. Talk about it, tell our story to save people. So good for you. It is a relief. It is a huge release. I wasn't sure how he'd react, but he was supportive. Was very healing. Good. That warms my heart. That warms my heart. Hey, Donna. Hey, friend. Good to see you. Glad you're here. So isn't it interesting, Raki? I can share that from my experience. Sure. The YouTube channel name is the name of the book, Releasing Your Authentic Self. Someone asking me here over on Periscope. So if you look up the name of my book, you should find our channel and the chat. So come on over if you want to hang out with us. And I do get some chats over here on Periscope too, so that's all right as well. So let's see, what I was saying is that I do remember those first few times when I started talking about the child abuse that I had suffered as a child, right? It literally, like, my body was frozen, literally so hard to get the words out. It's like I was fighting a huge inner battle. Everything about my body was absolutely, do not tell that secret. Not safe, not safe, not safe, right? So I started, right, with safe people, one person at a time, made sure they were safe. And it was interesting, right, gauging their reaction. How are they responding? And for me, all those years ago, because my whole life survived by playing a little Miss Perfect, right? It wasn't a big deal. I was like, nah, I'm okay. I minimized it for sure. And so when I started telling a couple of friends, because I was really struggling when I was in college, it's like I had my depression was getting worse. And I also can look back and see that I was dissociating quite a bit, just literally checking out. And the more I started talking about it, to notice how other people responded to it was interesting, because then that gave me a perspective on, oh, okay, maybe that was a lot to go through, or hard for a child to go through. And yeah, maybe I should go talk to a therapist. So, and that was how I started, right? One safe person at a time. And it has gotten easier, absolutely gotten easier, even though for a very, very, very long time, I could always feel what are they going to do with my story? What if they use it against me? What if they judge me? What if, like that stigma of thinking that I was worse, not a good person, or something wrong with me, because obviously those were all my fears. But the more I healed and the more I realized, nope, nothing wrong with me. I'm sorry, friend. Take your time. You can also try to, my name. Maybe it gets easier to find it that way. Releasing your authentic self. I hope that helps. Definitely speaks my fears. I hear you, Donna. I hear you, Donna. But again, and that kind of speaks to what we're talking about today. We're talking about kind of our self-worth and how we see ourselves and our value. Awesome. Great. Is that the more, like I said, I healed, and the more I recognized, wait a minute, this wasn't my fault. I have no reason to be ashamed. I wasn't the one, doing, the abuse. I wasn't abusing somebody. I was the one being abused. And of course, I had to talk to my inner child, work with her for a while, because she was like, absolutely, you're going to be ostracized or judged or criticized. But the more, like I said, I got in touch with my own truth and realized, nope, I am just as good of a person as anybody else. I am just as valuable, just as important, deserve to take up just the same amount of space as everybody else. And once I'd told my story, I was like, I'm okay with it being out there. You can't use it against me. So I was also a way for me, I felt like, being kind of in control of the story, so to speak. So, but again, each person needs to honor their path, honor their process, honor their journey. So absolutely. And actually quite a bit of the work that I do is to help survivors, find their way to share what has happened to them with friends and family. So that was a little side note, but thank you, Ricky. I want to celebrate you for doing that. It's so important, because also each time, right, that we take that risk and we tell another family member, and sounded like you now have someone that is supportive of you and understands. So good for you, friend. Hey, Kieran. Yoo-hoo, you found it. Welcome. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Say welcome to Kieran. I find, Donna says here, I find that what often comes up for me when isolating is if they only knew. Yep. Yes, exactly. Can anybody else relate to that? Walking around in the world with, well, what if they only knew? What if they only knew the truth about me? You're welcome, Kieran. We're glad you're here. That, right, when we grow up with abuse or neglect in our homes and don't get the validation, the love, the nurturing, the protection, the encouragement that we deserve, right? That really is our birthright. We grow up seeing that, no, right? We're not getting any of those needs met. And because we are dependent on our caregivers, the only solution, the only story that we can come up with, because we're just babies, we're just kids. I understand. Yes, I hear you, Elizabeth. I hear you, right? Care less and less about it. But again, as kids, the only thing we can come up with is that, well, I must be the bad one. And so when we, thanks, Kieran. When we then grow up with that sense of shame, like there's something wrong with us, right? Why aren't my parent, seeing me, loving me, taking care of me, protecting me? We assume there's something wrong with us. And then on top of that, right, it just becomes normal, right? Just becomes what we expect. But when we grow up with that feeling of being not good enough or bad, it's really wrapped up in that toxic shame. So then that's kind of what we are hiding everywhere we go. And the work, like I said, earlier, was to really get in touch with that shame and really let that shame out, because that shame is what's so toxic. And it wasn't even my shame. It wasn't my secret. So it took time. It took time. And yes, that, critical voice in my head, every time I'm kind of stepping way out of my comfort zone or doing something new, that can still pop up. But I go like, no, not interested. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. And I know why. In my heart of hearts, I know who I am. And when I lead and live from my heart, yes, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to get it perfectly every time. I will make mistakes. I will say things by accident or step on somebody's toes maybe. But I know if I do that, it's unintentional, and I will apologize or make amends, right? So honoring the truth of who I am. And again, just like I started here earlier mentioning with Wanda telling us that she was doing some inner child work with her therapist, that when I became the protector and the parent that I needed, I became a fierce mama bear for me, for myself, right? Then whatever is going to happen out here, nope. You do you. I got this. All right, friends. Today we are going to set up our conversation. We are talking about, like I said, our value, our worth. So this is your truth. This is all of our truths. You are valuable. You are worthy. You are good enough to live a wholehearted life. You are good enough, valuable, and worthy right now. Hey, friend, you're worthy right now as you are, and you always have been. What do you guys think? Is that your truth? So the two questions that I ask, that I put out there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. In what way do you not feel worthy? Because sometimes it helps to, take a little look at that. Why or what we, in what way we don't feel worthy. Because chances are it's not the truth, right? It may be based on something that happened in your childhood. It may be based on old negative thoughts and beliefs that simply aren't true. So we can take a look at that, right? And so then the second question is, if you close your eyes and imagine you're truly valuable, how would that feel? So that's a little assignment for everyone, but to explore, because that's part of healing, to step into a new way of being, right? Releasing our authentic self. We have to practice. That's why this book is 365 pages, because changing those habits and thoughts and beliefs is a daily practice until it becomes a new habit. Yes, Elizabeth says, I am good enough. Donna says, working at it. I hear you, Donna. I know you are, my friend. And Denise says, I posted late. Okay, great. So let me take a look. I had couple of members sharing their journal entries today. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Always love to hear your thoughts. So Denise, I see your reply, right? Depends on our moods. There you go. That's true. That's also true. Depends on our mood. But I'm inviting us to see who we are regardless of our mood. That no matter what your mood you're in, you are still inherently good, valuable, or worthy. I'm going to refresh again here. Oh, there it is, Denise. I see it now. I see it. I see it, guys. So let me start by sharing. Working on feeling it. There you go, Ricky. I understand. Let me start by sharing what Wanda posted. Wanda says here, one area of my life I continue to struggle with feeling worthy of is having an intimate relationship. I'm still learning to love and trust that I am capable of making healthy choices when considering a relationship with a man. When I consider that I am valuable, I have a physical reaction. My body tenses up in fear. You are not alone, my friend Wanda. You are not alone, right, guys? Can you relate? I want to thank you for sharing, Wanda. This is very tricky for us, right? I can, like I said earlier, so relate, because for me growing up, not getting love, kindness, encouragement, and support or nurturing at home, but learning pretty early that my only way to get physical attention was through my body. So my wires for sex and love were all, right, twisted up and really a big, big mess. So for a long time, I too, right, was very confused about love and trust and what was healthy and what was kind and respectable, um, kind. It was, disastrous for a long time. And I kept, attracting all the wrong people, made a lot of choices because those were normal. This is what I grew up with. And then also on my healing journey, when I started considering, right, that I had value other than just my body, right? That inherently, like, I had a good heart, I'm a good person, I have a great personality, I am funny, I'm silly, I love to dance, I'm adventurous, right? I'm compassionate, I'm generous, all those other qualities, because all I thought what I was this body that I hated. And I did everything that I could to not feel it and not to be anywhere, in it. So the thought of, being valuable or worthy, I definitely thought there was going to have to be some kind of exchange where I was going to have to give up something. And to me, that was always going to be some kind of suffering. So on something that I had to, give up. So make sense? I think I'm not alone. I know, I can see that here, right? And, right, but that's again the part of it. The more I got in touch with my body, the more I understood how my body was operating to protect me. And because, my childhood was so painful, that's why I didn't want to be in it. I would much rather just be out here floating. That slowly, right, one breath at a time, sometimes I had to come back to this body, this home, the only home I have, really, right? And make peace with it. And one layer at a time, sit down with it and evaluate all the things that I, right, felt so bad about it. And to see how much of it simply was not true, right? I wasn't bad. Bad things happened to me, right? I had no reason to feel ashamed. The people that hurt me, it was their shame, their secrets. So, but again, it takes time. It takes time. And I know I'm like a broken record when I say that, my friends, but we can, and we are doing it. And especially when we talk about this in a group, my friends, and this is why I'm here. This is my biggest why I have passion for being here publicly, talking about hard things, because I know that if I had found someone like you guys to hang out with 20 years ago, I would not have waited. More than 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, I wouldn't have waited as long as I did and suffered needlessly to understand why I was struggling, what was going on with me. I was a textbook example, like so many of us, right? Just trying to fit in, trying to work, make this thing work without really knowing how this worked. Just trying to make it through the day, one at a time. Let's see here. Donna says, thank you, Donna, for sharing. She says, I don't feel worthy of doing anything of worth. One of my core beliefs that I am very, very slowly beginning to examine is that God's made me as a throwaway human. This makes me cry, Donna. This makes me so sad. because you, my friend, are one of my favorite people. So it makes me sad that that's how you feel about you. But I'm going to continue reading your comment, so bear with me. Whew. I know now that this may be something that my child mind conceived to explain the whys. Absolutely, Donna. Yes, that is exactly the story that your little girl came up with to survive your childhood. Right? Whew. My heart is really stirring for you, sweet friend. Because you, my friend, are not a throwaway human. None of you are. None of us are. Each and every person here matters. You matter. Your life matters. Your story matters. Who you are and what you want in your life matters. So she also goes on to say here, even now in adulthood, it is hard to let go of the belief. I'm afraid if I choose to believe something different, I'm afraid if I choose to believe something different, the gods will see that and punish me with something even worse. I heard the childishness of this, but its possibility makes me cower. If I could imagine I was truly valuable, I hope I'd feel good enough and at peace with myself. I hear you. I hear you, Donna. I see you. I feel you, my friend. Absolutely. You are not alone in this double bind, really, right? That you feel, right, unworthy, bad now. And that if you dare to think anything else, that there's hope for anything else, that you will be punished, right? You are not alone. Again, I just want to say that over and over and over. So it's okay, Donna. It's okay that you moved my heart, because this, again, right? Just like I, in the beginning of my journey, when I told people how I felt about myself and the things that I had been through, it was good for me to see how people outside of me responded to me, people that I trusted and that, I cared about, because I trusted their response. Does that make sense, Donna? And because I know you, I've met you and we've worked together, it hurts my heart to know, right, that this is how you feel about you. And I understand it, and I do not judge it. I so understand it. But just what you continue to write, it's like, I understand that double bind. It's like, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. And that's the inner struggle that we then create for ourselves. Exactly. It's a double bind. So then we need to pull those things apart. Because when we have a double bind, right, it's like, then we need to assess them. We need to break them both apart. Because that's like where we have picked up where the people that hurt us left off, right? We have put ourselves in between this story and that story. Thank you, Donna. I value your trust. So thank you. I respect that so much. And like I've told so many of you guys, I believe in you. I'm relentless. I don't give up so easy. It was that relentlessness that helped me to heal me and finally connect with my heart, that now I today know I am an incredibly valuable, kind, generous, loving human. I know it. I know what it feels like now. I didn't for a long time. Thank you, friend. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're hanging out with us. So thank you, Donna, so much for what you're sharing. I really appreciate it. And I know you're welcome. You're welcome, Iris. And we will address some more of this, privately. But you are not alone, my friend, right? Because the story, right, that you had to come up with as a child, that because you weren't getting that love, support, and nurturing at home, you came up with like, well, I must mean nothing. I must be useless or a piece of shit, right? That was how I felt about me. Like, no one cares. Why should I care? And then the fear, well, what if I try to change? And what if what I find is true? I am this bad. I am this awful. And then nobody really does care. And then I'm just here to be, used and abused. But again, that was a lie. And I was willing to dig in there, Donna, right? A little bit more, again and again, practicing self-compassion. Talked to some people earlier today, and the butterfly hugs that we did. I don't know, a few of you are listening to the, can't think of the platform right now, but Tara Brock right now is doing is it relentless self-compassion practice or a compassion challenge that she's doing. And they were talking about today that the science is finally catching up with, it's okay, Rachel, I'm glad you're here. Hang on, I'll answer your, read your comment in just a second. But today on that video, I was listening to her, obviously, since I'm such a huge fan of self-compassion. She was telling us, she was interviewing Kristen Nuff, and they were talking about the science proves now that self-compassion, right? It actually, sometimes for us in the beginning, we're just going through the motion. We may not feel the warmth yet, but doing some of the tapping exercises that we have done, giving yourself warmth, giving your body warmth. Your body understands warmth and touch and kindness. Giving it to ourselves first. The compassion challenge. Thanks, Donna. Right? Because I didn't trust any love coming at me from out here. But what I learned was that I learned to love me. I learned to trust that love feels good. Love is safe. Love is kind. Love is actually a boundary, right? So the more I loved myself, the easier it got to say no and to set boundaries for others. So then what I was saying is that the science is seeing that when we practice self-compassion, we activate the part of our nervous system that, right, the same part of our nervous system that protects us, that takes us into the fight, flight, or freeze mode, also gets us into the caring mode, right? Self-compassion stimulates the oxytocin, the feel-good hormones in the body that get us in touch with the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, that gets us into the rest and digest. And that's where the healing takes place. That's where the body starts to open up and embody this new way of being. It's no longer just a mental exercise. We actually then start to feel differently about ourselves. So awesome, Sharon. Woohoo! Congratulations. I'm so glad you're here, my friend. That's awesome, Wanda. Being in the second year. One thing with you I can now do is the butterfly hug. Before it was very uncomfortable. Yes, it is uncomfortable in the beginning. Starting to give ourselves love and kindness is like, what do you mean? No, don't. But then slowly, right, we are helping our bodies, rewiring our bodies again. So let's see here. Thank you, Rachel. I'm so glad you're here, my friend. Everybody say hello to Rachel. I think she's going to be our new community member soon. Rachel says here, I recently went through a situation where I apologized for hurting someone, but they wouldn't apologize for hurting me back. Now I'm afraid of close relationships. I don't want that to happen again. I hear you, Rachel. I understand. I hear you. You're not alone, my friend. It is very hard, right? When we can't control people, right? And when we perhaps said something or did something and we don't know how it landed exactly, especially if that other person, like it sounds like, wouldn't apologize back for hurting you, or you didn't get clarity about what happened. That is very hard, Rachel. That is very hard. But I hope, my friend, Rachel, that you can make peace with you, meaning, right, that you are worthy of being in a relationships where you are respected, where people listen to you, and where they're interested in learning if this is a healthy two-way relationship or a friendship, that if something happens, that they will give you the benefit of the doubt, knowing your heart, and they would be honest and tell you, and then ask or give you time and some space to explain, right? But I understand being afraid of close relationships. It is hard. It is hard, especially when we've been hurt by them in the past. So, but as we work on healing our wounded parts, and as we do that, right, and become the parent and the protector that we needed, really become the adult, knowing, yeah, I do know how I feel. I do know where I stand. And again, not perfect 100% all the time, but most of the time, right? So it gets easier. It gets easier. And then we can, comfort the wounded parts. Maybe there's a little girl underneath here that is taking this, making this mean something worse than it actually was. Meaning she's making it mean something bad about you, instead of this is just the behavior. So to separate who the person is from their behavior. Sometimes this, right, gets very enmeshed. Yes, definitely a hurt little girl. I hear you. Exactly. So how can you comfort your little girl and tell her, no matter what happened, she is not bad. She did not do anything wrong, right? You did the right thing as the adult, right? You tried to communicate, you tried to apologize. And then we need to let the rest go, right? Meaning, right, if we continue to beat ourselves up for something we can't control. But what we can do is like, hey, sweet girl, don't worry, right? I got you. No matter what you say or do, I still love you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to turn away from you. So, but it is very hard. Wanda says here, I've experienced that someone I considered a sister hurt me intentionally. I did nothing to them. They never apologized, although admitted they did it to hurt me. I'm learning how to trust too. I'm so sorry, Wanda. That breaks my heart. Whew. You're not worthy of that kind of treatment. I'm so sorry. Hey, friend. And just here to my Periscope friends, yes, I'm looking at 2 screens and we got the chat going over here. Thank you. Got the chat going over here on YouTube. If you'd like to join our conversation, please come on over. Yes, Rachel. Rachel says, I feel like it's my fault even though I did all that I could. I know. I hear Rachel. I hear you, my friend. And that's, again, where that self-compassion practice, sitting with yourself, rocking your inner child, comforting yourself, talking to a safe friend. This is hard. This is painful. It's sad. It's frustrating. And all those big feelings are scary for our inner children. Thank you for asking. I am leading my friends here on Periscope and YouTube through my book. So, and welcome. If you have any questions about healing or recovery, I'm happy to answer if I can. Thank you for asking. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see here. And then Denise shared with us. Denise says, I don't know. You're welcome. I don't know how to pinpoint one specific thing I don't feel worthy of. In general, I don't feel worthy as a person. I am not worthy of good friendships, love, affection. I very much see myself as damaged and broken. How can someone my degree of flaws be worthy of anything other than the hurt and the pain I receive? I'm so sorry, Denise. I am very, very sorry. But you know what? I am so glad. I am so glad that you are here. Because you are, just by being here, right? Just by being in our space, just being here, breathing, right? The air we all share. You are worthy and valuable and deserving of love and kindness and friendship. Yes, exactly. And I was just going to say, and I know there's few people in this space that would push back on you being worthy of friendship because you are valuable to us, to this community. Your comments and your kindness is felt. Absolutely. And that's it, my friends, is that when we feel this way about ourselves, we are consumed by shame. And shame, just like fear, is toxic. And shame is a liar. And shame feeds on shame. Shame feeds the stories that we are bad and not good enough and that we're broken and never going to mount up to anything. Shame literally feeds on that. So how do we change it? We bring it out into the open. We bring it out into the light, just like you're doing now, right, my friend Denise? Hey, Tom. Just like you are doing now, right? Bringing in, seeing also right here in our space that you are not alone, as you're hearing here. Donna says, I hear you, right? Elizabeth says, I was discarded by many narcissist friends before I saw the pattern and understood that it was not my fault. Exactly. It isn't. It isn't. But how we learn, so true, trustworthy friend would be open to an apology and making amends. Right. Exactly, Rachel. Absolutely. Absolutely. So keep coming back, Denise. Keep coming back, right? It is our birthright to feel loved, to feel seen, to feel heard. And I know when we have no idea what that looks like, what that sounds like, right? Because we don't know. No one maybe responded to us that way when we were younger. So when people say, oh, just go practice some self-compassion, just be kinder to ourselves. What does that look like? What does that sound like? But the good news, right? Just like Wanda just commented, after a couple of years, some of the things that I've been encouraging us to do here in this space, how do we know that we are worthy of love? We give it to ourselves. How do we know we're worthy of respect? We learn to give ourselves respect, right? How do we know we're worthy of nurturing? We can do that and start to give that to ourselves. And how do we start? We start by, how do we take care of ourselves during the day? Through self-care, right? How do you take care of your body? There you go, Donna. That's right, Rachel. You would like friends like that. Exactly, those should be the only friends that we should let into our inner circles, that it is clear. This is a two-way street. Give and take. Respect. I hear you. I see you. I can ask for what I need. I can also say no. No is celebrated. We honor and respect each other's boundaries. But it's hard for us in the beginning because very often we haven't developed that sense of self because we really don't have a self. We were so desperately just continually looking outside of ourselves to get our needs met that we forgot all about, well, what do I need? What do I want? What do I like? So slowly and surely, starting with gentle self-care, even with the things that we sometimes just take for granted, like, how do you plan your meals every day? How do you take, exercise, spend some time in nature? What are the things that bring you joy? What are the things that make you feel happy? And start to recognize some of those things that you can do for yourself. Yes, we need other people. Yes, we need to be in a community and relationships with others. But the most important relationship we need to have is with ourselves. Because once we start to recognize, oh yeah, I like some of you know, love to have oatmeal for breakfast. That's my I explored a lot of different things for breakfast, especially when I became vegan and, changed my usual breakfast routine. But now I know what I really like and I stick with it. It makes me so happy. Like I feel happy in my heart when I have my amazing oatmeal in the morning now. I can't tell you for how many years I would eat whatever and I never felt any joy around what I was eating or how I was taking care of myself. And now also around, like I said, exercise, because I was so disconnected from my body. I didn't really feel my body. I actually really hated my body for a long time because it was just, it was being used and abused. But now it's like, wait a minute, in this beautiful world that I live in, and when I feel good, where do I feel it? I feel it in my body. I feel it in my heart. So if I want to feel things, I need to take care of this body so I can feel it and feel what this body wants to feel. And I know feelings are hard for us. I hear you. I'm sorry. He says here, in my culture, there's a stigma of going to a therapist. I understand. I do understand. And I'm sorry about that. But going to a therapist or finding a support group or finding a life coach, don't give up. Keep getting the support that you need. You are worthy of that support that you need. So I hope you hear me, Denise. I know you have raised your beautiful babies. You worked so hard to get them up and out into the world. You are an awesome parent. I also know you work your butt off at your job. You're really good, probably a coworker. So there's so many good qualities that you have. And those are just the things that you do. I'm not even talking because you are a kind and generous and loving and caring person. We care about you. You matter. Trying to be positive is important. Good scoping. Thank you. You like my mirror? Thanks. Rachel says, that's what happened to me. Total lack of sense of self. I'm just starting to step into who I am now. I hear you, Rachel. I hear you. I see you and I celebrate you, my friend. And, it's never too late. And, wherever we are on our journey, it's never to compare. It's never to, think we should be further along or what's wrong with us. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be. And trust that and this is your organic, authentic, journey. So honor that. We are way too hard on ourselves. So let that one go. And I have said it here and I say it many times. I do believe as a collective, we are healing faster. I think we are starting to believe, and science is catching up with us, that we can heal and restore and change, right? Our bodies, our minds, our nervous systems. We can literally do so much. As one of us heals, we all of us are healing. And so I do think we're all healing faster. And as science catches up in so many other ways, and we're just tapping into the power of our mind. And I think, unfortunately, so far, I think how we're operating in our mind isn't so helpful. I'm hoping one day they will be able to sort out how can we quiet that inner critic? And how can we tap into our higher consciousness, right? Get ourselves up a little bit out of our body, because we are way more and bigger than just our physical body. I believe we're multidimensional beings. And the higher up we go, the more connected we are. They say in the future, they will have computers to run our minds to give people a break. Yeah, right? I don't know about that, if I'm going to be ready to plug my mind into a computer to give me a break. But there's sometimes some work that would be nice if you could just plug a computer in to do some of the thinking. But I also think that we as humans, we are an information overload. We're sort of doing it. You're right, Alex. That we are kind of in exactly AI. We are like, my mind gets overwhelmed because of all the information that's coming in. And I don't know, I'm 50 something, right? So this mind is maybe starting to slow down, but I refuse. That's why I meditate, because I'm going to keep expanding and changing my mind. Like I just said, I'm rewiring my brain still, creating new neural networks in my mind. So anyways, I went on a little tangent here, but I want to thank you, sweet friends, so much for being here today. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. Yes, we are work in progress. So true, Alex. Absolutely. So before we wrap up, I pulled a card for us today, which is always perfect, right? The topic of the day was, right, what do we need to do to feel our value and our worth? Just to remember that we already are, right? The reason we think we're not is because there are some old beliefs that were passed down to us and we took on to survive. But one day she woke up and decided to believe. So maybe this is the card that you needed to see today. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your beautiful sharing. Also, to all of you, have a beautiful weekend. Do something that sparks joy. Go out into nature. Practice a little self-compassion, maybe. How about that? But until next time, love you guys too. I really, really do. And I'll see you back here on Tuesday. I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please give me a thumbs up over here on YouTube if this conversation was helpful to you. And thanks, as always, for the hearts over here on Periscope. Thank you, friends. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you, Denise. I'm so glad you're here. Rachel, Elizabeth, Wanda, Donna. I don't want to leave anybody out. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. See you next time.